Oh, yeah. You'll see it. Don't worry.
really love your character. I think Loki is the most complex and multi-layered character in the whole universe of Marvel movies, and
Thank you.
he's someone we love, we hate at the same time.
Yeah.
So can you explain the motives behind his seemingly conflicting behaviors?
Well, I see it as one of the great privileges of my playing this character is that in the first film, the first Thor film directed by Kenneth Branagh, Loki begins as Thor's brother, his equal, his friend, his ally. And the revelation of Loki's lineage, that he was adopted, and that you see this extraordinary vulnerability in him, and which gives way to anger and rage and self-disgust and confusion, and that then all of those things harden to become what is then becomes his malevolence. And so as a villain in Avengers, he is evacuating all of that anger and rage and self-disgust because he can't fully process it, that he feels lost, he feels alone. And I think it's unique in the arc of drawing a villain where an audience gets to see how vulnerable that character was. And then on top of all of that, you have his charm and his charisma and his mischief, which just makes him, I think, very, very interesting. But also it's my good fortune to inhabit the role of the trickster. That, you know, tricksters in all mythologies are, their whole raison d'etre is about subverting and confounding the status quo and convention. They're there to create chaos, and they love it. And so there's something about that. That to me, that's his complexity. Is that for so long now he doesn't quite know where he fits in the universe, and yet he has enormous gifts of intelligence and intellect and magic and transformation. So he has all these powers, but he's really acting for himself because he doesn't belong anywhere else. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Loki is extremely unpredictable, but there's one thing that we can be sure of is he loves his brother, he cares for his brother. So hypothetically speaking, if Thor is in great danger, how far would you go to save your brother? Like, would you sacrifice your life for his?
I mean, he does do some. Across the films, he has done some very unpleasant things to Thor, which I think is why the audience hate him so much. He stabs him. He, tries to do all kinds. Tries to leave him stranded on Earth, so I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen that yet.
Okay.
And it's also, I'll say this, what happened in Thor Ragnarok is very important, because in all the other films, Asgard still exists as a place, and Odin exists, and the family exists. So, but when Odin is gone, and the revelation of another sister, that they actually had that Hela was the firstborn, there wasn't time enough to explore in Thor Ragnarok how that affects Loki, that this is a sort of another revelation. And really by the end of Ragnarok, Asgard is gone and Odin is gone, and the only reminders of their childhood are each other. So they're almost closer at the end of Ragnarok than ever.
There are two Toms, three Chris's.
Three Chris's.
In one movie.
Yeah.
So how did it work? Do you have special names for each other to avoid the confusion?
I'm just the old Tom.
Old Tom?
Yeah. Old Tom and young Tom. Okay. Yeah. I don't know about the Chris's. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a shame that he could make it, Chris.
I know.
So what if hypothetically he is here? What will he say in his OCX?
What would Chris say? He probably would tell. He would probably. He does a lot of. The last time we did something together, he talked about wanting to play Captain Australia, said the next great Marvel. There's an undiscovered Marvel movie to be made about Captain Australia, where he'd be wearing the Australian flag and he'd ride a kangaroo and he'd have a boomerang that he throws out and comes back, and a crocodile that bites people.
That's
amazing.
Really a great story. So what do you want to say to our lovely fans?
First of all, thank you everybody for having me back in China. It's my first time in Shanghai and I love it here, and I feel very grateful and honored that you have connected with my work and thought I have anything interesting to offer or to say, and I'm very touched if anything I have done or said has helped you in its own way. So thank you for that, and give yourselves credit as well, because at the end of the day, you're in control of your own lives, not me. So thank you.
Your lovely, like kiwi fruit-like beard. So they're wondering,
like a kiwi fruit,
like adorable kiwi fruit. That's what they are calling you right now.
Okay.
So they are wondering.
That's very good. At the moment, no. But I will always, I think, feel at home in the theatre. That's where I began my life as an actor, and I've always gone back, particularly to Shakespeare. The depth and profundity, and I mean, it's no surprise to anyone, but the depth and profundity and breadth of Shakespeare's writing, to me, is without equal or parallel in English literature. Those plays have so much humanity in them, and they never cease to reveal new things about the experience of being alive. I think Shakespeare understood what it means to be alive in a very profound way, and from many, many different perspectives. And so each play touches on something different. It might be about love, it might be about family, it might be about ambition or jealousy or war or politics. There's something about the way he writes which is, to me, uniquely profound. So I hope that for as long as I'm an actor, I will always continue to touch those plays. And I recently played Hamlet for the first time last summer, and I enjoyed it very much indeed. Which is really an examination of life and death, of grief, of loneliness, of depression, of loss and isolation and vulnerability. I mean, Hamlet is the most isolated, most vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable characters that Shakespeare wrote. And it's interesting, having played other parts, you know, having played Coriolanus as well, who's similarly isolated, but he's angrier and stronger, and has different problems. Anyway, nothing at the moment, but I hope that I'll always work in those plays in some capacity. There are many Shakespeare plays I have not yet done, so we'll see.
Really looking forward to that.
Thank you
for your time. Thank you.
Thanks.
So